Hello and welcome to TVB News. A 9-month-old baby girl is in critical condition in a suspected case of child abuse in the city. The infant fell into a coma last Thursday and the doctor found a blood clot on her brain. Police believe she has suffered maltreatment under the care of a babysitter. A 33-year-old woman has been arrested in connection with the case. It's understood the arrested 33-year-old babysitter lives at Mount Regency in Tuen Mun. Also a mother with a toddler son, the suspect reportedly babysat for the first time. The parents of the 9-month-old baby girl, both in their 30s, sought occasional childcare services at Yan Noi Tong Community Center because their foreign domestic helper was on a month-long leave. At an hourly rate of $20, the 33-year-old first-time nanny was hired. The baby girl was taken away by the babysitter on Sunday morning starting January, and the parents would collect their daughter in the evenings. Last Thursday, after the babysitter helped the baby girl take a shower, the infant started twitching. The parents were notified and arrived within 1.5 hours and found their daughter lying unconscious in the baby stroller. The baby girl was then rushed to Tuen Mun Hospital. The doctor found that the baby suffered a blood clot on the brain and her left eye was swollen. The injury could have been inflicted, doctors say. Police said the hospital has reported a case and suspect the baby had been subject to maltreatment while in the care of the babysitter. Yan Noi Tong said they will fully cooperate with the police. The charity group said they expressed their deepest sympathies to the baby girl's family. Secretary for Environment and Ecology Jie Qin-wen today said the government will place smart food waste bins in all public housing estates this year. He said the measure is aimed at reducing the amount of rubbish produced by the city. Mimo Seng-ai reports.
Amid widespread concerns, the government decided to postpone the implementation of the city's waste charging scheme or the pay-as-you-throw scheme to August 1st. Under the scheme, the public is required to use government-designated rubbish bags to dispose of waste. The bags come in 9 sizes, with prices ranging from 30 cents to $11. While the scheme hopes to encourage residents to be more environmentally friendly by producing less waste, the measure has drawn criticism from the public. Some questioned the insufficient recycling facilities in the city. Speaking on a radio program today, Secretary for Environment and Ecology Jie Qin-wen explained the lack of proper facilities in housing estates is because most people are not into the habit of recycling. Jie said authorities have often asked property management companies to conduct more recycling activities in housing estates. Jie says some 660-litre bins will be placed in rundown estates that are the so-called free-nail buildings, as they have no owners' corporations, no residents' organizations, and no property management companies to provide convenience to residents. Meanwhile, the Environment Secretary noted some smart food waste machines have already been placed in more than 100 public housing areas. He said authorities plan to install the machine in all public housing estates within this year. This printer-looking machine is in fact a smart food waste bin. To use the machine, individuals only need to pour food waste into it. The next step is to scan a QR code on a corresponding app to obtain green points. Alan Wong from the Association of Scrap Plastic said the capacity of the food waste machines is too small. Wong, who is also a Yunnan district councillor, said authorities could use food waste trucks to collect rubbish from large public housing estates. News 9, TVB News.
With the recent surges in COVID caseloads in the city, infectious disease expert Dr. Ivan Hong has urged the public to receive the XBB vaccine as a booster, instead of the Sinovac jabs, which use the inactivated platform. This, as Dr. Hong said, the old vaccine can no longer effectively protect people against the latest mutant strains. From the latest surveillance data, the JN.1 COVID variant has replaced XBB as the dominant strain in circulation. Because of the strong transmissibility of JN.1, Hong Kong has seen a rebound in COVID tallies. That's according to Professor Ivan Hong, Chief of Infectious Disease at the University of Hong Kong's Faculty of Medicine. Hong cited examples of the infectious disease wards at Queen Mary Hospital. Around 80% of the patients admitted contracted COVID, and the bulk of them are elderly or patients with chronic illnesses. He observed those patients afflicted with severe conditions had earlier received 2 to 5 doses of Sinovac. That's because Sinovac, a type of inactivated vaccine, uses the ancestral virus strain as antigen, which is different from the mutant strains including Omicron, XBB, or JN.1. With that, Professor Hong urges the public to be inoculated with the XBB vaccine, as the government has expanded priority groups for the latest vaccination programs. Using the mRNA platform, the XBB vaccine offers a closer match to the JN.1 variant, therefore generating a more robust immune response. He also reminds the high-risk groups to avoid going to crowded places and wear a mask to minimize infection risks. A hill fire in Tuen Mun was put out by firefighters this afternoon after the blaze raged on for more than 8 hours. Huge plumes of smoke were spotted around Porlo Shan near Shan King Estate at around 7:30 this morning. Fire could be seen spreading across the hillside. The government flying services dispatched helicopters to douse the fire from the sky. The fire was put out at around 4 p.m. Foreign Minister Wang Yi and U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan are in Thailand for 2 days of talks. The pair first met on Friday. This is the hotel where Wang and Sullivan are holding their meetings in Bangkok, while the two countries have yet to reveal any details of the talks. An academic said they may reach some consensus on East Asian issues. The geographical location of the meeting suggests that Sullivan may have traveled to Thailand specifically to meet Wang. The pro-Taiwan leader of the Pacific Islands nation of Tuvalu lost his parliamentary seat in an election closely watched by Beijing, Taipei, and Washington. Kelsey Natano had pledged to continue support for Taiwan, a diplomatic ally since 1979. Natano failed to secure one of 2 seats of the Funafuti constituency, according to reports. The newly elected parliament will choose the country's prime minister from among its 16 lawmakers. A leadership contender has said diplomatic ties should be reviewed. Tuvalu, with a population of about 11,200, is one of 3 remaining Pacific allies of Taiwan, after Nauru switched to Beijing. Foreign Minister spokesperson Wang Wenbin urged Taiwan's remaining allies to follow the trend and return to the international family that upholds the One China principle. Welcome back. South Africa claimed victory in its case against Israel after a United Nations court ordered Israel to fulfill a number of measures to prevent possible genocide against the people of Gaza. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said the International Court of Justice, or ICJ's rulings, laid bare Israel's alleged crimes against Palestinians. Among the rulings at The Hague, the court ordered Israel to do all it can to prevent death, destruction, and any acts of genocide in Gaza, while also ensuring humanitarian aid to a 2.3 million population. The ICJ also ordered Hamas to release all hostages taken captive during its October 7th attack on Israel that resulted in 1,200 deaths. Since those attacks, more than 26,000 people in Gaza have been killed in Israel's offensive. Nasvi Karim has more.
In light of the following, the court concludes that, prima facie, it has jurisdiction pursuant to Article 9 of the Convention to entertain the case. Given this conclusion, the court considers that it cannot accede to Israel's request that the case be removed from the general list.
Celebrations in the South African camp after the International Court of Justice accepted its case of possible genocide committed by Israel in its war on Gaza.
The effect of the order that the ICJ has granted today is that there is a plausible case of genocide. This marks an important first in our quest to secure justice for the people of Gaza.
Israeli representatives refused to speak to the media after the ruling, while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly said he would press on with the war. However, the ICJ's rulings mean Israel's actions will be in global legal focus over the many years it may take for the court to deliver its final judgment. While the court stopped short of demanding a ceasefire, one analyst said provisional measures put pressure on Israel.
I'm going to agree with South Africa's view of the decision to do everything that the court has ordered to get humanitarian assistance to protect the people from potential genocide how do you do that without a de facto and in effect pause in the fighting, a ceasefire?
We had a meeting in the...
Palestine's ambassador to the United Nations welcomed the court's rulings.
It is a historic day, and we are in close collaboration and consultation with South Africa. So fasten your seat belts. You are into a very powerful, trip.
To discuss the latest developments in Israel.
The White House said the ICJ provisional rulings are consistent with the U.S. stance.
Actually, I think the court's ruling is consistent with many of our positions, and much of the approach that we've taken with Israel. For instance, in the view that Israel has the right to take action against the terrorists on the October 7th attack, that they have an obligation to be mindful of minimizing civilian casualties, that they have an obligation to assist the international community to get humanitarian assistance, and all these are things that we have been pushing and urging for as well.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Boeing's Max 9 passenger flights have resumed in the U.S. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration ordered the planes to be grounded following a mid-air emergency when part of the fuselage blew off. The planes are still being inspected, and there has been scrutiny on manufacturer Boeing. Tom Costello from NBC News has more.
Alaska Flight 1146, Seattle to San Diego, was the first Max 9 to return to flight as Alaska gradually reintroduces all of its inspected 9s.
We expect within about a week, our entire 65 airplanes, or close to that, should be up back in full service.
United plans to start flying its Max 9s this Sunday. Both airlines say passengers who don't want to fly the Max 9 can rebook without penalty. The aircraft type is usually on the reservation and ticket. It was 3 weeks ago that the door plug on Alaska Flight 1282 blew out over Portland. Passengers Joan and Gilbert Marin were on board.
It was very cold, but everything was rushing out, so we didn't have a smell. We just had the roar.
Investigators are looking at whether the door plug was ever bolted in place. NTSB investigators were back at the Boeing plant today, as both Alaska and United Airlines continue inspecting their own Max 9s. Most Max 9s have two door plugs, one on the right side and one on the left side. And it's taking maintenance teams up to 10 hours per door plugs to do the inspection, making sure that every single bolt on the plug is secure. On Thursday, Boeing stopped all 737 MAX production to focus on quality control.
We, the Boeing company, are under a tremendous amount of scrutiny, and what I will say is rightly so.
In Washington, bipartisan support for congressional hearings.
It is in everyone's interest that Boeing continue to prosper. For that to happen, Boeing needs to have a safety culture.
With the preliminary NTSB report expected next week. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
U.S. President Joe Biden is campaigning in South Carolina ahead of the Democratic Party's first official primary of the 2024 president election. The state was key in Biden winning the GOP nomination during the 2020 race, as the president successfully gained the votes of black voters.
I love Joe Biden. Let's get that straight. I love his wife, and I love I love what he stands for. But it's just time for a younger person to come in.
4 years ago, Biden had the support of senior Congressman Jim Clyburn, who helped boost his standings among black voters. Clyburn is once again in Biden's camp. An ad featuring Clyburn is being aired ahead of the February 3rd primary. Mainland electric car maker BYD said it plans to introduce its Sky Shuttle system into Hong Kong. Sky Shuttle is an autonomous railway system. The company has also made self-parking vehicles. Lim Sang-ai reports.
This black and white train is called Sky Shuttle, or Cloudbus, a driverless railway system developed by BYD. The system is currently operating in some mainland cities, including Shenzhen and Chongqing. The mainland electric car giant says Sky Shuttle reduces traveling time for commuters, adding Hong Kong residents may be able to experience such a convenience in the future. While this SUV vehicle looks no different to other cars, it can run on water and park autonomously. This car is called Yangwan U8, which BYD launched in October last year. What is the advantage of parking without a driver? One benefit is to save time. The time it takes a driverless car to park is less than 30 seconds, as suggested by stopwatch records. For a normal car, it takes more than a minute to park. To activate the driverless parking function, drivers only need to press the right buttons inside the car before leaving the vehicle and locking it. BYD said Yangwan U8 may not be suitable for the Hong Kong market because of its large size. However, the company still hopes to introduce driverless parking technology to the SAR. News 9, TVB News.
Hong Kong will see its first pedestrian scrambles, also known as diagonal crossing, in Sha Tin next Wednesday. That's a type of traffic signal movement that allows pedestrians to cross an intersection in every direction, such as the famous crossing in Tokyo Shibuya district. Secretary for Transport and Logistics Lam Sai-hung said the Transport Department has picked the intersection of Sha Kok Street and Yat Tai Street in Sha Tin as a first trial location. Another diagonal pedestrian crossing will be at the intersection of Granville Road and Carnarvon Road in Tsim Sha Tsui. It is expected to be in use in mid-2024. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.